Welcome to the Fat Life Podcast.
Welcome.
Friday night.
All is bright. I didn't know what to say.
Right. So we hope everyone enjoyed the last episode.
Absolutely.
Hit a record for our show in listens. It was an amazing, awesome pleasure to have Flip on.
And then Wednesday was his birthday.
Yeah. So happy birthday to Flip.
Well, belated birthday.
Belated birthday.
What'd you get him?
My friendship.
Oh, I sent him a naked picture.
Ah, well, there we go.
He said he enjoyed it.
Ah, good. So yeah, exciting week. Everything good with you guys?
It's been hot.
It has, and actually the one thing I was shocked to see is that we have yet to hit our highs from last year, which was 120 3 days ago.
Right, this is the time of year we normally get there.
Yeah, we're like at 114, 115 right now, so it's hot as hell, but it could be a lot worse. So I'm not mad at that. Although it seems like now the nights aren't cooling down anymore, which really sucks because the last couple weeks, as soon as the sun went down, it seemed to have dropped quite a bit. Now it's still hot as shit all freaking night. So
yeah, it's 7:48 right now, and it is 109 degrees. So
a lovely 109 for Arizona today.
But it's a dry heat.
All right, yeah.
It's hot as fuck.
Stick your head in the oven for 2 hours at 110 degrees and tell me how dry that heat is.
Okay, so I wanted to start off the podcast with an interesting conversation. I want to know what you guys think about this. Because I've talked to a lot of people about this over the week. And I know, may not be the most interesting at first, but trust me, there's a payoff at the end. So we'll consider it music news. And there's two big ones that I wanted to cover. The first one is, I think, unless you're living under a rock or you just don't pay attention to some of the stuff in the news, there was a 20-year-old rapper who was recently in Florida, and
TX or
XXX Tanashi, I think his name.
XX extension.
XX extension.
XX extension. RIP.
It's retarded. So he.
That's not politically correct.
No, it's not.
It's short bus.
It's mentally handicapped.
Was he mentally handicapped?
No, he wasn't. But the name is pretty retarded. So he basically went on Instagram, social media, took a picture of his lovely Louis Vuitton black backpack with a shitload of cash in it and said, I'm going to go buy a motorcycle today in, it was like Dayton Beach or somewhere, Florida. I'm going to pay cash, flaunting money. 20 years old, by the way. People think he's a prodigy, but we'll go there. Goes, shops for motorcycles, gets into his nice BMW, drives to an intersection, and some people roll up on him, blast him a bunch of times, take his backpack, and leave. Now, I don't really follow the rap game much anymore, and rapper gets shot and killed.
Aren't you black?
It's sad. No.
Oh.
Yeah. It's sad to see that someone would shoot and kill someone in this day and age. It happens all the time. We see it in schools and everything. This is making news because he's popular or whatever. First thing, to see the love and support for this guy is...
That shouldn't be there.
That shouldn't be there. And that's basically where I wanted to go with this conversation. This guy is known at 20 years old for brutally beating his pregnant girlfriend blind.
He popped her eye out of the socket.
While
7 months pregnant.
Multiple aggravation charges.
Currently awaiting trial for 15 felonies.
And expects to be a role model for the children out there today. And in fact, a lot of the videos that you'll see on Instagram, YouTube, that they're like, rest in peace, XX, whatever. This was his last Instagram post, which was an Instagram live video, and he's talking about how he wants to inspire the children and 5 million children and this many people. If I die tomorrow, then all this and bullshit. Is there any sorrow? Do you feel bad for the kid for obviously getting shot, but...
Well, sure, you don't want to see anybody get killed, no matter how stupid or ignorant they are.
Okay.
doesn't make it right that they get killed.
Absolutely.
Do I feel sorry for him? I don't know enough of him to say I do. Mm-hmm. Am I surprised that he's getting all the outpouring of sympathy? No. That's the shape this country is in right now.
Okay.
It is so ass backwards with its morals, and it starts at the top.
Okay.
So, am I surprised that they act that way? No.
Okay.
No. You know, people felt bad when Hitler was killed.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy.
He never got
The
killed.
Nazis, but
Okay, wow. But,
Okay.
you know,
Understandably.
it's unfortunate, but it's the way the world is right now.
Okay. I agree with you on that. All that. So here's the second story. I just wanted to cover that one because obviously it's in the news. Everyone's talking about it. Just want to put it out there that we're not stupid. We have seen it. I've seen the video, and the thing that fucked me up the most about all of it was he was shot in an intersection with people. The very first video to come out was somebody with their camera on their phone opening his door with his lifeless body just in the front seat. All over Instagram, all over Facebook. I've seen it at least 25 times now.
What's wrong with that?
Why does that need to be publicized on social media?
They're trying to make their own CSI.
Again, that's the shape this country is in right now. Why does that surprise you?
Well, I don't necessarily agree that that comes from the top. I just think that's just, in this day and age with technology, that's just where it's going to be. I don't know. It just shocked the hell out of me that people are making this into an actual video that, people are going to see. I don't know. I don't know. So my second story. This one is a little more still musical. Okay. So there's this heavy metal band I listen to. I've been a big fan of called As I Lay Dying. Christian metal. Very heavy on the Christian undertones in their songs. But very thrash, dark. A lot of people mistake them for a death metal band because of the way they sound. Get past that. The story starts 6 years ago. The lead singer's name's Tim Lambesis. Goes into a bar after being on tour, talking to a guy, having marital problems, which I'm sure as a frontman to a band you're going to have from time to time. He's talking to a guy, and the guy is talking to him, and he's like, I got all these problems with my wife. Don't know what I'm going to do. And the guy goes, well, for the right amount of money, say $5,000, we can take care of that issue. Take care of the issue. And he's like, no, whatever. A couple weeks later, he gets into a car with the same guy and pays him $5,000 to kill his wife.
This Christian singer.
Lead singer, yes. He then gets arrested by said guy because he's an undercover cop. Goes on trial. The trial went on for a couple months. Gets 4 years in prison.
4 years?
4 years in prison for conspiracy to murder his wife. Gets out in 3 for good behavior.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me he found God.
No, he was already found. He went with God. Here's the issue. Just last week, As I Lay Dying released their new single with Tim Lambesis as their frontman. Is this morally okay as a fan of As I Lay Dying to go see them in concert?
I don't know.
Purchase the new album?
That's a personal question that you have to answer yourself and your God.
So here's my question to you. Okay. Bruce Springsteen comes out tomorrow, gets arrested. Obviously it never happened. Bruce is like a god. Whatever. Bruce, or let's even take it even closer to home. Roger gets arrested, beating his wife, goes to jail, comes out 3 years later and puts out a new album. You buying it?
No.
So you're cutting all ties to Roger Klein and the Peacemakers because of said,
No, I'd probably download it.
All right.
You didn't see that one coming, did you?
I give you that one. I didn't expect that one at all.
Well, it's hard to say because that's so far-fetched.
Sure.
It's so far-fetched.
Yeah, but if you think about it, Carter, think of all the quote-unquote gangster rappers that quote-unquote kill people, so
Sure.
they say in their music.
Sure.
Yet that's all they glorify murder, they glorify gangs,
Of
they
course.
glorify drugs, they glorify rape, they glorify crime and everything that's wrong with America. Mm-hmm. Yet it's the number one song, and it's again goes back to it's what's wrong with America is so like going back to why they posted dumbass's dead body, right? Everybody and their mother right now wants to watch crime shows,
right?
You know, documentary crime shows, Making a Murderer, The Staircase, whatever it may
the
be.
ID network is huge.
It's because everybody in their own demented mind has a fascination with murder,
right?
Whether it be, you know, the people committing the murders or just the investigations themselves, and then you have the small portion that are able to flip that switch one step further and commit those crimes.
Sure.
Most people, it takes them, it gives them what the hell do you call it? Not an adrenaline rush, you know, to be like, oh, well, here's where I draw the line.
Okay.
You know, I can't do that crime, but I can, you know, live vicariously through someone else that has.
Sure.
It's that whole situation. You know, I mean, look at Meek Mills and all these people that go to jail, they go to prison, Tupac, Biggie, they all talk about killing people.
And I'll give you that.
And their music's still, you know, the number one hit. 50
I'll give you
Cent,
that.
all that shit.
And I feel like in that demographic of music, in that genre of music, it almost comes with the territory. But my question is more based on this is a heavy metal Christian band that if you listen and look lyrically into their content of what they're putting out their facts of morality, coming to terms with Jesus, coming to terms with Christ and God.
But they're labeled an alternative band.
They're considered thrash metal.
Right.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
they don't say, hey, we're a Christian band. They're not like we
they're
watched last
considered
night.
metal.
They're not Mercy Me or
No.
you know Third Day.
And when you're looking at a Christian band and putting out an album, putting out a concert, you have to ask yourself simply, what is Christian? What is the belief system? Number one, that Jesus died for their sins, right?
Sure.
Forgiving, right? So it's obvious to believe then that people forgave him for what he did.
Man did, yeah.
I wonder if his ex-wife did.
No.
But they forgave him, and they put out a band. It's a money thing. And when I said earlier that it started at the top, I'm not saying this is all the president's fault. No. The shape the country's in today is the president's fault? No. I think he is amplifying it tenfold. I think the problem really stems back to the start of reality TV.
I would agree with that.
That's all life is today. There's no true hard-hitting news stories.
Tell me.
It's all bullshit that all they want to do is, and you and I had this discussion the other day, you know, me being a Republican, you a Democrat, but we agree on the same shit that nobody's giving you, neither side are giving you factual news.
Right.
They're not giving you hard-hitting actual stories about what's going on in America. They give you bullshit, you know, whether it be with the ICE camps, whatever it may be, going on in the news. Nothing's the true, actual, factual story. You know, there's two sides to every story. They don't show either one. They make up their own story. That way they get listens, you know, and viewership.
I go all the way back to Kim Kardashian. Why the hell is she important?
Because she's got
Why
big
can't
butt
she?
and
Why
big
can't she
boobs.
fade away like Paris Hilton did? Like Nicole Richie did?
Because
Well, Nicole Richie.
I was gonna say because of her name, the Kardashian name, but Nicole Richie, Paris Hilton don't also have a mom pushing their whole brand after she went famous. I mean, the whole reason they're still around is because of Christian.
But what is wrong with people? And this is what I don't understand. So if you can explain it to me, I would appreciate it.
Sure.
What is wrong with the millennial generation that feeds into this shit, that has to watch it 24/7?
Because that's what we were raised on. That's what we were raised on, reality TV, starting with Survivor, making its way on down. Your generation was raised on the sitcom. The Tonight Show with Carson or Leno. I don't want to date you too much.
No, it's Carson.
With Carson and then Leno. Your generation was raised on that whole thing. The Jeffersons, the I don't even know all the TV shows that were around. You know,
All in the
Partridge
Family, Good Times, Partridge Family.
You had
Different
so much
Strokes.
from your.
What you talking about, Willis?
Yeah, so much from your generation was all sitcom based, and then somewhere in the '90s we thought, let's put a camera on people. And then we turned around and said, let's put a camera on people, but let's script it and not tell people that it's scripted. Basically, the Kardashian show. Every reality show, the fucking Jersey Shore, the Real Housewives of fucking whatever city they're in next week. That's all it is let's see how fucked up everyone else is compared to our own lives.
But it's so asinine that people still feed into it.
I agree with you 100%.
They still feed into it. So much to the point that a reality star could be elected leader of this country and tear it apart at its seams, piece by piece.
Well, I think that you gravitate to the fact that he was a reality star, but in all reality,
that's right. He was a successful businessman that had 9 bankruptcies.
But he was still a businessman first and foremost. He actually is one of the
Still
only
has
reality
billions.
stars. He's the only reality star that actually had a name before reality TV came and made him what he is now.
But I will say, if you look at that, most successful businessmen have gone through failures and bankruptcies in ventures.
And we're not
so
gonna
I
sit-
can't beat him up on that because he is also, as far as I know, now this could have just been publicity. I have not done the research, but Trump not taking a salary as president.
Yeah, we can sit here and beat up on Trump all we want, and that's not the.
That's not what the purpose of this show
I'm
is.
giving him a hug.
All I'm saying is that
Maybe a reach around.
You're a fucking idiot.
You're a fucking idiot.
if we're gonna sit here and talk, but you want to ask the question of why are millennials so tied up in reality TV at this day and age with where we're at today? That's the only thing being marketed to the younger generation with MTV, with even Comedy Central has it now. That's just where that's the way things have become since the mid '90s to today. If Fear Factor was actually still a good show, I'd probably still watch it because it was fucking entertaining.
Only with Joe Rogan.
But outside of that, there's nothing entertaining in reality, at least from in my point of view.
Now let's back up a second.
Sure.
Fear Factor was not a reality show. It was a game show.
It was a contest, sure.
It was a game show.
All right, I'll give you that.
America's Got Talent. That's a game show.
Yep.
Sure.
Okay? It's not going into somebody's house talking about who's sleeping with who or who's pregnant and who's not pregnant or who's becoming a lady and who's staying a man. It's all asinine stuff when you get into that kind of reality. Do I need to know what's going on in their household? I could care less.
I agree with you.
I could care less. And I think values go out the window with stuff like that. And then you have stuff where they're showing dead bodies on Instagram. Okay, why is that a surprise? I think social media is a big issue right now that needs to be addressed. I think it's gotten out of hand.
How do you address it?
Turn it off.
That would never happen. You turn it off.
Come up with an alternative.
Here's a perfect example. You turn off Facebook, Instagram, whatever. You've cut. I may be jumping here, Flip. I'm sorry, but you're cutting off 75% of Flip's marketing as an independent comedian.
Okay, then how about put some restrictions on it?
You're cutting off all of mine.
Monitor it.
Okay.
Okay. How much crap went out the window with what's wrong?
No, keep going.
How much crap went out the window when Zuckerberg sat in front of Congress and talked about the fake news, the hacking that was going on in Facebook, the gathering of your personal information that was being sold?
Agreed.
That stuff has to be restricted. That stuff has to be monitored.
I agree.
And then it goes back to the household with parents. Parents need to start stepping up and monitoring what their kids are doing.
I 100% agree with that. I feel like in my day, we were definitely monitored on what we were doing online because you had a very tight hold on when we could use the computer, how long we could use the computer for, and what we were looking at.
Well, you only needed 30 seconds a night.
Yeah, well, back then you couldn't get videos as regularly as we can on our phones today. But yeah, I feel like you do have to, and I think it starts with what you're doing online. I think it goes all the way on to parents with their kids having Xboxes, PlayStations, having parental controlling on that. I see it, with my girlfriend. Her son has an Xbox 360. On that 360, just to watch Game of Thrones, I have to jump through hoops to get through the parental control just to watch one episode. because the parental control is locked down on it so that he can't get into things that he shouldn't be on. And I think parents need to do that more and more.
Isn't that what you just took home the other day? Was it Xbox 360?
No, I took home my Xbox One, two different systems.
Oh, okay.
So on the 360, when we were watching it, because that's how we have it set up in the bedroom, I have to press a bunch of codes to get into here, and I have to press a bunch of codes to get into here, and then, I found the video I want to watch. Can't even see a screen of what the video is. I have to press a couple buttons to get into the video to see where I'm at. I feel like that should be set for parents. I think parents should be setting for that. In fact, for instance, before I took home the Xbox One, I was trying to play Assassin's Creed 3 on the system. I had to set it up so that the system would allow me to play the game, and I had to enter parental controls to allow me to play the game because the fact that it was rated M. Was it a pain in the ass? Absolutely. Did I want to go through all those steps? Fuck no. Is it smart for a kid? Absolutely. I think it's 100% smart to be putting that on a 10-year-old's Xbox so that he can't get onto YouTube watching stupid shit. He can't get onto HBO watching the porn that's on there, because if you didn't know that HBO Go had porn, it does. And it definitely makes it harder for kids to get a hold of things that they shouldn't be watching, playing, vice versa, anything.
But also the problem with today is 10-year-old kids can figure out how to hack that to get through it.
It's actually pretty simple.
Faster than you probably could.
In fact, he actually knows the code, so it's kind of pointless. But
So
it's
really,
there.
your whole thing is moot.
Yeah, but still, I mean, to be able to have that for a kid, I think is 100% reasonable, needed, so forth and so on. But sorry to get off subject here, because there is a specific reason why we got together today for this podcast.
Well, we're going to go right before we go there.
Okay.
There's one more thing, because we're talking about morals. We're talking about the shape of the country and everything. Did anybody happen to see Chris Pratt's acceptance?
I watched it this morning.
What'd you think?
Yeah, what'd you think?
I thought it was very Chris Pratty. I thought it was very much him with his humor, his message behind it. I don't think it's any surprise that he is a heavy Christian. He's been on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, posting Christian posts and stuff, and his message behind it, I had no problem with it. I also think that people need to calm down if they're having a problem with what he said, because in no way, shape, or form did I feel like he was pushing anything.
Is he getting pushback on it?
No, but I feel like there are going to be people out there that are going to put pushback on it. I think there are going to be people on there that are going to be like, how dare you mention, religion in your speech, which he never really mentioned religion as much as he made comments towards it.
Right.
He didn't say be a Christian, but he did say have Christian morals.
He said you have a soul.
Right.
He said there is a God. He is real. Mm-hmm. And he said learn how to pray. It's easy.
It's who he is.
Which I thought it was outstanding. I thought it was about time. In that atmosphere, I was shocked. I really was.
Especially MTV.
Right, I was shocked.
Considering who the audience is, I think it was the audience that needed the message the most.
Right.
Versus going towards an older demographic.
Right.
Do I think it went over a lot of people's heads? Probably.
Well,
did people let it roll off their shoulder? Probably.
In a sense, that's where I thought it was needed.
Yeah.
And I thought it was great to say it, as opposed to having the Attorney General stand up earlier this week and say Romans 13 verse, and excuse me for not knowing the verse, but that you should obey the law because that's God's commandment, because he ordains the government, which means anything the government does is going to be okay because God says that's okay, because he ordained it. So I thought I was really surprised by what he said, and I thought that was well received.
And not to go too religious on the podcast, but I think that's my biggest problem with people who will pull a Bible verse up in conversation, is I feel like too many people will find a Bible verse that supports their cause and leave it as that.
Exactly.
And they may not read into the rest of the context of what comes after that Bible verse. What are the next 5 verses after that? Exactly,
I agree.
And it happens too much today, and obviously with the government doing that, it happens in social media where people would be like, here's a Bible verse and this is how you should act. And you completely neglect what came before that verse and what came after that verse. You're taking something out of context to push home your point, and I think that's a problem, a big problem.
They do that to Trump all day long.
Come on.
Come on. Fucking move on.
There are times, Reggie, where I just think you're the smartest guy I know, and I'm so impressed that you're with my daughter. And there are other times I think she could have maybe aimed a little higher. You know I'm kidding. Don't take it serious.
All right. Well,
Don't take it serious.
all right. So, do you want?
Otherwise, Reggie will be sitting in a bar talking to a guy about $5,000.
Fuck. Where am I supposed to come up with $5,000?
It just won't be his wife he's going after. Ew. So let's.
Man, I got this fucking father-in-law. Let me tell you.
All right. So let's get down to the point of why we're doing the show.
So do they always set off fireworks when they lose?
Diamondbacks
The
and the
D-backs
Pirates. All the time. Diamondbacks Pirates game just ended. Diamondbacks won 2-1 in the 13th inning. What a shit show of a game.
Filled with errors.
But anyways, let's get back to the point of why we're here today.
Right, time to get serious.
So this is what we're gonna do.
If anybody's still listening.
I'm gonna give you this mic. I'm gonna go over there
Why? No one's
because
listening.
you're the guest, and I want you to take this and not.
You
feel
took
like I'm
all my
talking.
Trump supporters away.
Yeah, well, they're fucked up. Go.
Who let you out of your cage?
All right.
So what we wanted to talk to tonight is we wanted to kind of turn the tables around a little bit. We want to do an interview with Reggie. For those that don't know, Reggie, why don't you tell about your organization that you founded? What's it called?
It's called Restore Felons' Rights. And I think that
this was the
anybody
portion of the show that we were going to get serious.
that has 3 strikes against them should be allowed to purchase firearms.
Okay. You know, now people are turning off.
No, it's called the Last Wish Foundation.
And what is the Last Wish Foundation?
For those that aren't familiar, which I'm sure is a lot of people, think the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Okay.
So with them, they take children that have terminally ill diseases and grant their, realistically, their last wish. Or, make their dreams come true. For me, I take that and I grant or make the last wish possible for seniors diagnosed with Alzheimer's and dementia. And then I also include their families in that wish as well. Something that they will always be able to look back on, cherish, and remember the good times.
So what got you, that's a very noble cause. Alzheimer and dementia is just a terrible disease.
Yep.
What put you on this path?
So for me, my grandfather was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia and Parkinson's.
Now, what is that?
Parkinson's?
I know what Parkinson's is.
So Parkinson's is a lot of involuntary movements, twitches, things of that nature, unsteadiness, equilibrium issues, things of that nature. Lewy body dementia is more of your severe behaviors, hallucinations, a lot of adverse behaviors, things of that nature.
Was it gradual? How was it diagnosed? What did you start noticing?
I wasn't around. I was still in the military when he was diagnosed.
Okay.
So I wasn't there for that aspect. Really, it got to a point to where, obviously, when you get to that age, my grandfather was 74 when he passed. So this started when he was really 68, 67 years old. Just mumbling here and there, couldn't remember, but that, again, you think, that comes with age.
Right.
It just got to the point to where his hallucinations started getting extremely bad. He thought he saw people all over the place. So say you had, a laundry basket behind you. He thought there was 3-4 people huddling up to, commit a crime or hurt him or someone in the household. I want to say 2015, he called my mom and he's like, you have to come get me. There's someone in the house. They've got a gun. So my mom comes over. She calls the police. He's standing outside holding a TV remote thinking it's the phone. Says there's people in the house and there's nobody there. And so they walk in the house with him. They're right there. No, that's a wall. Kind of situation. From there, I moved in with my grandparents. So both my grandmother and my grandfather. Again, same behavior. You don't see it 24/7 though. A lot of the times he's the same person.
Right.
He'd have his wit with him. We'd have great conversations, fun jokes. Other times, he legitimately ate a can of wet dog food because he thought it was tuna fish. You just can't really tell, everything that's going on there. And unfortunately, Alzheimer's, there's no cure for Alzheimer's or dementia.
Right.
And in that aspect, you have doctors all over the place trying to figure out something. You have new programs coming up every day to where, this can help offset it a little bit, or this is going to help with, prolong the effects of Alzheimer's.
What is the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia?
Honestly, there's not much.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, there's really not much. So it's a form of Alzheimer's. It's the number one form of Alzheimer's.
Okay.
There's a handful of different. There's frontal lobe dementia. There's Lewy body dementia. There's temporal lobe dementia. There's all this other random shit that goes with it, and unfortunately right now there's no real progress. There's no placebo effect. There's no magic pill that's going to slow down the effects, whatever it may be. There's some things, to where obviously, a good healthy diet, exercise, things of that nature, no matter what, are going to prolong your health. So you can't just say, oh, well, if you do this, it's not going to give you Alzheimer's. No, that's not true. It's just it prolongs the effects because, well, your body itself is healthier and can fight off certain things.
Right.
I not only am the office manager for an Alzheimer's community, so I deal with it on a daily basis, right? I've got people in there as young as 57 years old that are so far gone, like it's ridiculous.
Really, at 57?
Yeah, at 57. I want to say 26 is the youngest for early onset Alzheimer's, and they currently live in a community.
And they have no idea what caused...
Nope. So it's sad. So for me, you asked kind of what got me into it. It was really my grandfather. Those 7 years, he's always wanted to go to the Ronald Reagan Museum. Mm-hmm. Never got a chance to go. His health declined and steadily declined. One thing with Alzheimer's is you really do revert back to being a infant or toddler stage. And so you don't always remember to tell people you need to use the restroom, or
right.
You don't always remember yourself that you need to use the restroom,
right?
Whatever it may be. So every 30 minutes in a car ride, he had to use the restroom. With that, it was impossible to really travel with him because of that. Us living in Arizona, Ronald Reagan Museum being in California, weren't able to make that happen due to his health. So for me, when my grandfather actually passed, I had talked about wanting to do something. I've always been the type of person that wants to give back. Initially, when I first got out of the military, I wanted to start a nonprofit that took first responders and military, things of that nature, took their children and did something similar.
Okay.
So say like, a police officer or a soldier, whatever it may be, died in the line of duty.
Right.
I wanted to take their kid and say it was a police officer, take that kid to Disneyland, whatever it may be. That one thing they wanted to do with mom or dad never got to, but then have an entire police force there to show their appreciation and kind of be that parent for the day.
Right.
With their loved one. So I've always wanted to give back. It was just at that time frame, fresh out of the military, I didn't know what I was doing. Hell, I still don't today. But I have a little bit more, of an idea and a lot more of a passion because it hit me, directly.
Well, I know Lynn's grandfather, mm-hmm. Allie and Carter's great-grandfather, mm-hmm. had Alzheimer's. Mm-hmm. For 10 years mm-hmm. in a nursing home.
Yep.
That I knew him because when I was brought into the family, when Lynn and I got together, he was already in the nursing home mm-hmm. With the Alzheimer's. And like you said, revert back to toddler.
Yep.
didn't know anybody.
Right.
And it's kind of one of my favorite stories about that situation, which is not that it was a funny story, but that we walked into the nursing home one day, and he didn't even know his own son.
Right.
My father-in-law, Rich, didn't even know him. And that was a conversation we had where he had moments where he did and moments when he didn't. Mm-hmm. And most often, because they didn't live where he was at, they would come and visit. Often he didn't know who they were. But we walked in together, and he looked over at his wife, my wife's grandmother, and said, "Who's the big guy with Rich?" Mm-hmm. Meaning me, which was kind of funny because he recognized his son.
Yeah.
Okay. Behavioral. Mm-hmm. And it was just really sad. And the funny thing is, and I don't think people realize it, but they don't always die from the Alzheimer's.
99% of them don't.
Right. That's why 10 years he was living with it.
Number one actual cause of death for someone with Alzheimer's is going to be a fall, which is then going to cause a brain bleed or some type of trauma. Second is pneumonia. So even a common cold, with someone with Alzheimer's, can take them out. Behavior-wise, though, it's like a lapse in their judgment that just never comes back.
Right.
Right. So, like, we've got a gentleman that was a pastor for 40 years, but now we can't have any female staff be with him because he wants to touch the butt, he wants to grab the boobs, but that's not him as a pastor. That's with Alzheimer's. It affects his obviously cognitive abilities.
Right.
But it's like there's no right or wrong when you have Alzheimer's.
Now, my father-in-law, Carter and Allie's grandfather, mm-hmm. had dementia. Mm-hmm. And that was just unbelievable because my mother-in-law would talk to my wife and she would say, he's doing this or he's doing that. But whenever we saw him, he wasn't. Mm-hmm. And I can remember we went out to eat one night, and he and I were sitting in the front seat of the car going to the restaurant, and we're talking about golf. And the next thing, without skipping a beat, he's telling me about how to water the fields because they grew up on farms, mm-hmm. and how to irrigate them and where I needed to put the hoses and everything. And didn't miss a beat.
Right.
Went from one conversation right into another, and that just really surprised me. But then how quickly it overtook him to where every time we'd go back, he was only a shell of who he was.
Yeah.
And tragic. Got pneumonia and unfortunately passed away.
Yeah.
And it was very hard, very hard. So how long has the last wish been going on?
So my grandfather passed December 12th. Yeah, December 12th, 2016. By December 22nd, 2016, I had everything legalized.
Wow. That was quick.
Now, that was as incorporated and everything as an actual business. Another 6 months later, I had the 501c3. Obviously, the IRS likes to take their time.
Right.
But it was an established charity and charitable organization, just pending 501c3 status at that time.
So without mentioning any names, without going into too many details, what kind of wishes have you been able to be a part of?
So far, it's been sending a gal. Her mother was passing, so actively passing. So I sent a gal and her daughter to Kansas to go ahead and spend. That was all they wanted. Mom was actively passing. Unfortunately, they're down on their luck. So I sent them to Kansas to be with Mom.
Oh, fantastic.
Everything else, really, I've got stuff in the pipelines, but being able to actually fulfill at the moment have not been possible.
Why?
Financially. Obviously, okay. with the nonprofit. With any business in general, people want something for their money. a nonprofit, you have nothing to give for that money that they're giving. It's just, out of the goodness of their hearts or whatever it may be.
And what are some things that are in the pipeline?
Still got Cinderella.
Explain that.
Yeah, so I've got a gal, never married, anything like that, that was living at the community I manage. She wants one night with her knight in shining armor, or Prince Charming. Wants to go out to dinner, dress up, get all done up, have the gentleman of the night all dressed up, take her out to dinner. So my plan and kind of putting it into motion is getting a limo company. There's pick her up at the community, obviously get her all dressed up the way she wants to be, makeup, hair done, all to the nine. Have a limo pick her up as well as Prince Charming, whoever that may be, and then take them to Capitol Grill in downtown Phoenix. It's the rooftop 360 restaurant that
the Compass
spins.
Room.
Yeah,
right.
There we go, the Compass Room. And then, depending on the time of year, preferably I would want to make it to where there's a horse-drawn carriage at the end of their dinner that can take them around downtown Phoenix and really embrace the city and the lights and things of that nature.
Right.
Oddly enough, like I said, she was never married, so she has no kids. She just has her best friend growing up's daughter is her power of attorney. And so she takes care of her, makes sure she's all set up, but obviously looks at her like a mother. And so with that, have a photographer and videographer go with them, film and photo the entire ordeal, and something that family member or power of attorney can kind of always look back on and cherish, the times they had together,
right,
and not just the negatives of the disease.
How much do you think something like that
I think it ranges. A lot of it depending on who do you know, who does so-and-so know, can get kind of some deals put together.
Right.
Obviously, you know about this a lot with your previous experience, and then from what I've been telling you the past few nights about kind of what's been put in motion for the upcoming event. But a lot of it's who you know and who your friends know that can kind of make things happen. Otherwise, you could probably do it for $2,000.
Okay, so we mentioned that the Last Wish Foundation is a nonprofit organization.
Right.
How do you generate money?
So luckily, Facebook last year came out with their fundraising ideas or ability to where, now they do it. Anybody for their birthday, do you want to run a fundraiser for a nonprofit?
I saw your mom just did that.
Yeah, my mom just did one.
Right.
Anybody in their cousin could do it, It doesn't just have to be for a birthday. You could just decide to run a fundraiser for any nonprofit. Doing that, word of mouth. My website right now is on hold just because I'm trying to make it. I don't like to put out anything half-assed.
Right.
I had published it, launched it. It wasn't getting the hits I wanted, and it didn't have the feel that I wanted, so I have it on pause right now and unpublished.
Okay.
So really, it's all through Facebook, Instagram, social media. So for me, social media is huge just because you can. Unfortunately, also working full time and having the baby on the way,
right?
Which then brings a needy fiance, and not in a bad way, but I don't have all the time of my day to devote to social media and things like that. I'd rather spend time with Allie,
right,
than sit on my phone or my computer trying to get things done.
Right.
So really, it's social media and being able to run the right platforms and at the right times.
So with that in mind, let's focus on what's coming up.
Yeah. So July 14th in Phoenix, we have an event at Oso Brewery, OHSO Brewery. That's going to be off of Tatum and Shea. And it is called Puppies and Alzheimer's. One of the big things that we're trying to incorporate and get the name out for the foundation is providing therapy dogs to Alzheimer's and dementia communities, so specifically memory care communities.
Right.
With that, you're putting your face out there. It's a vulnerable state to be in, But what I've seen over the last 3 years in my profession is that these animals, and not just therapy dogs, but therapy animals in general, bring so much joy and love into these people's lives. A lot of them, unfortunately, they don't have family that come because it's hard for the family member to see their loved one like that. Well, a dog's going to give you unconditional love. It doesn't matter if you can't remember them the next day or you hit them because you're upset. They're going to give you that unconditional love because, well, that's what animals do. Humans can't do that. We hold grudges.
Right.
So that's one of the big things we're doing is bringing those therapy animals to communities. And then, so Alzheimer's and puppies, obviously the other portion is going to be being able to raise money to grant some of the wishes we have in the pipeline, and then as well as any future wishes and endeavors, things of that nature. So, currently for me, I've always done it to where any donation we've received, it's in the bank. I don't touch it. I don't take a salary, anything like that, because I've never wanted to. I've always felt that money was donated for a reason.
Right.
And so, that's the biggest issue I have with these huge nonprofits. CEOs, presidents make millions of dollars
Goodwill
for a salary, but you're a nonprofit like the NFL.
Right.
I don't agree with those business ethics or morals. I think it's bogus. So for me, it's, I spend my own money to make these things happen. Pay for the websites, everything, marketing aspect. So one of the cool things that I decided to do was the water bottles.
Right.
So I got 150 water bottles made, and that's one. It helps get the word out there.
Definitely.
Because it's all logoed and branded, and everybody in Arizona needs a damn water bottle.
Definitely. Definitely.
So with that, it's really just getting the word out there. So this event coming up, we're having a silent auction.
Okay.
We've got some really cool donations in so far.
What kind of donations do you have so far?
So we've got a signed football from the Arizona Cardinals. That will be held a mystery up until the event. We don't want to give it away. Create some suspense.
Definitely.
We've got a foursome from Starfire Golf Course. A 4-pack of any game you want to go to during the week. No weekends for the Diamondbacks. And
That's
those are third base line reserve tickets. So I think we looked it up. It's a $400 value.
Exactly.
I've got the AZ Pool Guru, which is a pool restoration company.
Right.
They're donating a $500 restoration package.
Wow.
Chandler, or Lexus of Chandler, finalized today. I'm picking up on Sunday. They're donating 12 items of some sort. I do not know at the moment.
Right. Phoenix Suns did something, didn't they?
Yeah, the Phoenix Suns. I have a players only suede signed Josh Jackson hat, which, if I'm not mistaken, he was the number 1 overall draft pick. Mm-hmm. So a lot of cool things there. We've got some things from Harkins. State 48, which is big in Arizona, obviously, has donated. Baseballism, which is another big one, they've donated. So it's getting those companies in and kind of getting the ball rolling. We've got Bark Box for the dog lovers, things of that nature.
Right.
Speaking of that, also Oso Brewery is a dog friendly brewery. So each table has dog bowls for water and food and treats. They also have leash hooks, so that way you can bring your dog with you. So don't be afraid to bring your dog.
And if I'm not mistaken, they're donating something as well, aren't they?
So our event is from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., so it's going to be a breakfast brunch kind of experience. With that, they will be donating 20% of all proceeds during those 4 hours to the foundation.
Outstanding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Outstanding. Fantastic. So that's coming up July 14th, Saturday. We'll talk about it again prior to it starting.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's a worthy cause. Alzheimer's, dementia, the awareness, something has to be done.
Right. Well, and not only that, you've got, so like for Allie, when her Papa?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Grandfather.
But didn't she call him Papa?
Right.
Yeah. So when Papa passed away, she was 19, 20. In her first year of college.
Right.
And then never went back to college.
Right.
And from what I've been told from Allie, it's, because of obviously she was close with Papa.
Right.
It really messed her up emotionally, and then she never had the drive to kind of go back.
Right.
So with that, there's no positive memories to look back on that. It's, Papa passed away of dementia. And there's no positive in that time frame.
Right.
And so that's what I want to change. It's not just the parents that get affected by this, it's the grandchildren. Some of these people, they're getting diagnosed younger and younger, passing away younger and younger. My grandfather was 74 when he passed. So with that, I have, little siblings that are 12. It affected them, and when he passed, they were 10. So they don't get a grandpa to grow up with and things
Right.
like that. So it's giving them that short time frame, something miraculous and incredible that they can always look back on and remember that was my grandpa, that's who he was.
Right.
And so that's kind of what we're putting together, is making it to where, yes, it's about fulfilling that loved one's wish, but really the after effect is all about the family and those loved ones.
Right.
So that way they can it gives them peace that we were able to do this for grandma or grandpa, mom and dad, whoever it may be, but now they have something to look back on as well. It was that last big hurrah.
What's your favorite Papa memory?
My favorite Papa memory. There's so many. I could go back and do my routine from the memorial, because there was a couple good golf stories in there.
I remember golfing with him with you, and you had Grammy's golf clubs.
Mm-hmm.
And he
The
got
one
up
that
to-
went over the house?
He got up to the tee box, and swung, and lost the club, and it went over the house next to us. And we had to drive around to go get it.
Yeah, there's that one. There was
The killing of the goose.
the goose that got hit by a line drive from Mark's driver. And then Papa had to go over there and step on its head and bash it in until it was completely gone. A lot of my fondest memories of Papa are golfing. One that was just him and I. Trying to think of the right one. There was a time that we played the course at Desert Ridge, and we were forced into a foursome with two foreigners. What did I say? Asian. I guess I can't tell that story because I don't remember the full details and I don't want to say anything bad. But Papa had a few comments to make during the course of the game about the foursome we were in. Just because of the way they played. It was very different from the way we played. And the way they would swing. He would analyze every little bit of their swing. And I'm like, Papa, it's just you and I. And he'd break down the way they pulled it back and went. It was funny. But I guess my fondest memory would probably be golfing at the little 9-hole course over here. There's a long par 4. There's only 2 par 4s on there, 1 par 5. There's a second long par 4. It used to be, if you go there now, it's not there, but it used to be that there's a bunker on the front left edge of the green, and there's a bunker on the far right, and then it goes into just desert with trees. And I drilled it from halfway out into the bunker. And we walked up there, and I could tell, but this was the 7th hole at the time. Yeah, the 7th hole. You could tell he was pretty much done with the way I was playing because I was playing so bad. And my shots were going left and right. And he was just done. So we are walking up, and he kind of just looked over into the sand and he goes, "Well, good luck with that," and walked away. And I was like, okay, cool. And I remember going in there, and he had his back turned, and he was going through the trees trying to find his ball. He's like, "You go ahead and hit." And so I said, "Okay, cool." And I pulled back and got that ball just right, and it went up onto the green and started making its way towards the hole. And I probably ended about 4 feet away from the hole, and I was so excited. And he turned around and saw it and was like, "You sure you hit that?" I was just like, yeah, never mind. All right, we'll just keep playing. I just rolled it off like it wasn't. It was one of the greatest shots I thought I'd ever had, and he just played it off like I threw it onto the green, so it was a lot of fun.
Papa was an avid golfer. Well, that's cool, Reggie. That's really impressive, and I think let's hope we get a really large turnout there for you. Would love to see the Cinderella story happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing.
One of the big things, obviously with any nonprofit is the getting the word out there.
Right.
So if anybody knows a good videographer, that's one thing we're looking to do, is be able to kind of make a promo video of what we can offer to families and their loved ones. It's one of the big things I think that would help us reach more people.
Definitely.
Hold on, we're going to press pause.
Can you?
And we're back. Right. Sorry about that.
A little bit of an interruption there.
Had to make sure the baby mama was okay. But yeah, you went over your fondest memory of your papa. I think mine, though, was when he was living in my community.
Uh-huh.
I left. He had a fall the day before Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving night, we actually brought him to my community to stay. At that time, I had my dog with me, and she stayed with him. I had to go to my house though and grab some clothes and things to make us both comfortable there. I left. When I came back maybe an hour later, there was a female resident in his room, naked on the bed, and he's sitting in the recliner. And I said, "Grandpa, what the hell are you doing?" He said, "Get out, I'm getting a free show." And this is still to this day my favorite memory, because even at the very end, he had all of his humor, all of his wit with him. It's like, he never missed a beat. And so for me, that's what I like to look back on.
I got so many of my father-in-law that just are I hold dearly. But one that comes to mind right off the bat is he was an avid golfer. Mm-hmm. And I didn't golf when we met.
Right.
But I said I did. And so I tried to learn the best I could. And I know as frustrated as he was with Carter, I'm sure he was the same way with me. And we golfed everywhere. We golfed in Michigan. We golfed in Colorado, all over Arizona. But we were golfing in California. One of the last times we went golfing in California, and he took me to this course, and we got paired up with another gentleman, older gentleman. And we were toward the end, and we came up to this hole, and it had to be about 150, 160 yards. And I don't have a short game. My short game sucks. So I took my 7-wood, and I drove it, thinking that if I hit it lightly, I would get the 150 yards. It flew over the green and went a ways. And the old guy looked at me and said, "What the hell is wrong with you that you would use a driver on a short hole like this?" And my father-in-law walked up to him and said, "Don't tell him how to golf. He knows what he's doing." And then I was like, wow. And he turned around, came up to me and says, "You may not want to use a driver again." And I just started laughing, but it was just to a T. What a great man. What a great man. So, I wanted to change subjects a little bit.
Sure.
One of the things that I wanted to talk about is, or something I'd like to add, is starting Tuesday, one of the local movie chains here in town, AMC Theater, is going to start offering a subscription service where it's $20 per person a month, and they can see up to 3 movies a week at any of those chains theaters, and it's AMC. And it doesn't matter if it's IMAX or 3D or special engagement. So it's really a pretty good deal. And AMC has done that to where in the past, where during the summer they'd say, okay, it's $5 to get in during the week, which is nice because you go to a movie today and it's $12 easy to get in.
Yeah. Forget
about the snacks and everything else. So, of course, we're going to start taking advantage of that. I've got Jurassic World on the horizon.
Jurassic Kingdom
is on the horizon. I'd like to see that this week. I know The Incredibles 2 we'd like to see, but also in 2 weeks, Ant-Man is coming out.
Yeah.
So those are good movies. So what I'd like to do is maybe have a moment each podcast where we'll do a quick movie review.
Sure.
And we'll do whether it's How Many Fat Men We out of 1 to 5 fat men, will come some kind of rating system as to what we think. And I know we all have different opinions of movies, and that's cool too.
Well, the sad part is I heard Jurassic Kingdom gets one skinny man.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They bombed it?
It's the same movie.
Okay.
So it's what is it? The 5th
Yeah.
of its kind, and it's the same.
Yeah.
So they're basically Star Warsing it.
Speaking of Star Wars, I'm glad you mentioned this. Star Wars has gotten rid of,
Han Solo?
as of 2 days ago, all of their spin-off movies.
No.
They will not be doing them.
Really?
Because Solo bombed so bad, and the way that they've been doing it is every year on the date there's a new. Here's the issue with that is these movies cost $150 million to make,
Right.
and for something so cinematical and something that Star Wars has a huge following,
Right.
when that following, diehard people don't go to the movie,
Right.
because they know it's gonna bomb and suck,
Right.
it's an issue. So they've decided that they're gonna get rid of all the spin-offs for the time being and focus solely on, I want to say it's the next 2 actual movies
Well,
in the storyline.
it was kind of funny because I read where they were turning around the idea of doing a Boba Fett movie. Mm-hmm. And why?
Yep.
Why did that character become such a big character? I just never understood that.
I don't know. He had very, very minimal time on screen in the initial 3. I think what it is the illusion of who is he.
Right.
The mystique of the character. Nobody really knows. You somewhat get to see, I forget in which movie, what is it, Attack of the Clones?
I think it is Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, Attack of the Clones, where you see Boba Fett's father get killed.
Right.
And then, so you see him as a child, and then you see him as Boba Fett the bounty hunter. So you never truly get to know his story, and I think that's why they wanted to do it, because he is, if you think about it, everybody loves Boba Fett. I do. I think Boba Fett's amazing, but you don't know his story, you don't know his background, and everybody loves a good, nomad.
I look at it like reality TV.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Right.
Let me put my nerd glasses on for a second. So the reason why everyone loves Boba Fett is because Boba Fett has a series of books in the Star Wars universe that go over why he is who he is, how he got to who he is, all that crap. He's a big, crucial part in the prequel book story and post the movies, the books that they did in between the movies. And I think because he has such a strong presence in the universe through the books, people want to see that come to life in the cinematic universe. Okay, I'll take my glasses off now.
It's a good thing this is an audio show, because you got no glasses on.
No, I don't. I just wanted to nerd for a second. Okay, we can go.
Where's that accent come from?
It's my nerd accent.
Hey, nerding out. I'm going to nerd out next week on you guys.
Why?
Because we have next week's show. I tell you what, folks, if you weren't impressed with this week's show, or, which I can't understand why not, because it was really a great subject. But I got to tell you, next week's show is a listen. And some of the shows we have coming up are going to be really interesting shows. Next week, we have Amy Millington on the show with us. We're going to interview Amy. And Amy is a bona fide ghost hunter here in Arizona.
Yep.
And she's part of an organization that actually goes and does haunting investigations. I know they did the Grand Hotel in Jerome. They did some places in Mesa even. It's going to be an interesting story. It's going to be an interesting story. I know Amy works with the University of Phoenix and does this on the side. And she's even invited me to go on an occasion. And I would love to go. I just have never really followed through with it. But we're going to have her on the show. We're going to be able to interview her, talk about some of her experiences, and share some of our own personal experiences. And I think it's going to be a fun show. Definitely a fun show. And then future, we've got lines out right now with somebody from a local UFO society who we're hoping is going to come on and talk about the Phoenix Lights.
Yep.
And what that was all about. And even most recently, just a couple of months ago, 2 commercial airline pilots witnessed a UFO fly over them here over the desert. It's in Arizona, and they were at 30,000 feet, and they projected that this object was like 40 or 45,000 feet.
Wow.
So, but they both saw it and both reported it. So maybe we can get a little more insight on that. So those are some upcoming shows that I think are going to really be fascinating and really be worth listening to. And you can find out more information on the website when those are solidified. But Amy Millington definitely next week.
Yep, absolutely. And then I think we're going to do another fun one, trying to put logistics together for that.
We are. We've got a bachelor party coming up that we're trying to...
Yeah, so Allie and I are getting married 2 weeks from tomorrow. And with that, I think we're going to do a what to expect from good old Peepaw and Big Brother Carter. Not my big brother, but
you don't want what
you know. So we'll have fun. We'll go no holding back, uncensored, ready to roll.
You asked for it,
and let's see if I can make the guys uncomfortable.
I doubt it. How can you make me uncomfortable?
I'll do this show in the skivvies.
What?
Naked.
That's fine. That doesn't bother me at all.
Oh, you walk in, I get hard.
I'm comfortable with my sexuality, sir.
On that note, people, go ahead and drink the good drinks, eat the good foods, and be an overall good person.
I love fat people.
Peepaw out.